The Apocalyptic Trilogy. In January 2015, the player GG Boy would release a hell-themed level called Cataclysm, using the song At the Speed of Light by DimRain47. This level would revolutionize Extreme Demons forever, as to this day, there's still levels being created that take inspiration from Cataclysm. Cataclysm was the first ever Extreme Demon to be verified, being verified by Cyclic. At the time upon verification, it was the hardest level verified legit. A few months after Cata, the player Riot, who was the third victor of Cataclysm, had the idea to start a mega collab on another hell-themed level, which was called Bloodbath. It had around 15 creators, one of which was GG Boy himself. Riot would verify Bloodbath in August 2015, around 2 weeks before Ruptop released Update 2.0. Once again, upon verification, Bloodbath was the hardest level verified legit. The final level in this legendary trilogy would be Aftermath, released in December 2015 by Xenity. This level is sadly a really meh level. It feels so unoriginal and uninspiring, unlike the other two, so not too much to say about it. The Butiti Trilogy. In July 2016, the player Jonathan GD would release a level called Butiti, and this level was very creative for 2.0. So because of its positive reception, Jonathan would make Butiti 2, which would get released in 2017, which got more attention than the first one. However, Jonathan wanted to end the Butiti series here, but the community pressured him to make a third and final one, which he reluctantly did. And in 2019, the third and final Butiti would get released, but sadly, it's not as good as the first two. The gameplay and deco are pretty weird, and it probably would have been better to just not make it. The first RGB Trilogy. In December 2016, the top player Sonics would verify a level called Sonic Wave. It was a blue-themed 9 circles level released by the player Cyclic in July 2015, the verifier of Cataclysm. Sonic Wave was released before Bloodbath was verified, but it was way harder than Bloodbath. Today, Bloodbath is ranked 665 on the all-rated Extremes Demon list. Sonic Wave is ranked 278, which is phenomenal. So because it was miles ahead of Bloodbath, people began to accuse Cyclic of hacking the level, which he eventually came out to in March 2016 to hacking supposedly everything, including Sonic Wave and Cataclysm, but many others, including myself, believe he just said this to escape from the GD community to focus more on school. After Sonic's verified Sonic Wave, it was the hardest legitimately verified level, which is surprising because Sonic Wave was verified almost a year and a half after Cyclic hacked it, and it was still top 1. Later in January 2017, player Trustar would verify a healthy level called Yadagurasu, which was a mega collab and was also the hardest verified level upon verification, but today it's considered easier than Sonic Wave. In March 2017, the player Boldstep would verify a green factory-themed level called Erebus, which is my personal favorite out of the trilogy. It was once again the hardest level when verified, but today it's considered the easiest out of the trilogy, and also considered the worst. When Erebus was verified, the top 3 hardest levels at the time were now in RGB, the red being Yadagurasu, the green being Erebus, and the blue being Sonic Wave. The Technology Trilogy. In 2016, the player Anubis wanted to create a remake of Cataclysm, which would have been called Artificial Ascent, which would have been mechanical themed, but Anubis lost his save data and the level got reworked into a mega collab, which would be hosted by Viprin about halfway through the collab. Artificial Ascent would get verified by Combined in December 2016. In 2017, Viprin wanted to make a sequel to Artificial Ascent, And since Artificial was made in 2.0, the sequel will be more fresh because it would have been made in 2.1. The level's name would be Digital Descent, and would get verified by Combined again in 2017. The final level of the trilogy would be called Cybernetic Crescent, which would get verified by Technical in 2021. People, however, seem to think that it doesn't hold up to the greatness of the first two, which I agree with. The Crazy Trilogy. In January 2018, the player DavJT would release a level called Crazy. This was a hard demon with fast-paced gameplay maintaining a circus theme throughout. The song was by an artist called Dirty Balls, who had a very unique style of remixing circus themes. The level was very loved by the community, so DavJT would work on a sequel, and 6 months later, Crazy 2 would be released. This was an insane demon which was also loved by the community. DavJT wasn't planning on making a third Crazy, but eventually he got to work on it. And over 2 years after the second one, Crazy 3 was released, and it got the most popularity out of the trilogy, nearly getting 20 million downloads today. The level is also the best looking and longest one out of the 3. I'm a victor of Crazy 1 and 2, and while in my opinion the second one does fall back a little bit, Crazy 3 has to be my favorite one. The second RGB trilogy. Believe it or not, we somehow got a second RGB trilogy as the top 3 hardest levels in the game 4 years after the first one. In 2015, the previously mentioned player Riot collabed with Cyclic and Auroras to create a new hell-themed top 1 to the throne Ice Carbon Diablo X. The level was originally called Silent Akbar, which thankfully got changed to Tartarus. The original version of Tartarus goes way beyond our current skill at the game, so the project died, but 3 years later in 2018, Riot got together a few decorators to polish up the level, and the level was finished around 2019. The level got verified by Dolphy in January 2020, and got placed at number 1. A few years later, the player N-Switch would verify a top 1 called The Golden, which was a green forest-themed level. Sadly, the level was considered easier than Tartarus a few months later, and that's still how it is today. At least we can be thankful, because without this level, we wouldn't have gotten this peak reaction.
I verified the golden, let's go! Finally.
Later, in May 2021, the player Zanny verified Sonic Wave Infinity, a remake of Sonic Wave by Cyclic. The level would get placed at number 3, but today it's considered the hardest out of the trilogy. When the level got placed, we had a brand new RGB top 3. The red being Tartarus, the green being the Golden, and the blue being Sonic Wave Infinity.